I practiced with my father. He's been in practice for 30 years, and for me to kind of jump in and change everything up was an extremely interesting process. It's been a challenging process, but very rewarding to get to work with him every single day. So it's been super fun. We're actually breaking ground on a brand new building on Monday, which is going to be fantastic. All of our practice members are excited about it, and they're getting pumped up about it. We're actually going to be changing our name as well, or rebranding, which hasn't been released yet as far as the actual name. So we're going to release that in 2 weeks at the end. I'm getting the echo. So so I'm really excited to be here with you today and kind of share with you with my journey coming through chiropractic school, what made us successful, what made us hit the ground running when we got out, what kept us hungry and kept us motivated, because chiropractic school, let's face it, can get a little monotonous, can get a little long at the end of the journey. You can get a little burned out, and it can get very easy to become complacent. And so my goal today is to hopefully, like Brittany had introduced, is to help you get the most out of chiropractic school and transition gracefully from the role of student to the role of doctor. So, but anyway, that's me. That's what tonight's going to be about. I wanted to share with you kind of what AMPED is all about, and the purpose of AMPED versus the purpose of AMPED Club. It's slightly different. The purpose of AMPED is to create successful chiropractors so that we can bring chiropractic back to its rightful place in healthcare. And we believe that chiropractic in general is, we know that chiropractic generally is broke. And that's why a lot of schools, they depend on governmental organizations in order to supply them with the funds to be able to offer student aid. And in exchange for those funds, they have to teach the curriculums that are decided for them based on people that aren't chiropractors, essentially. And so it's a crazy backwards way of erasing chiropractic, true chiropractic, from the world. And so we know that the linchpin of that, the success of our mission, lies in creating successful chiropractors. And if we can do that, chiropractors that aren't so focused on paying the rent so that they can actually look up and look around and help their profession, then we'll be able to change chiropractic for the better. So that's kind of the purpose of AMPED. The purpose of AMPED Club is to create successful students so that when you get out the gates, when you graduate, you'll be able to start practicing the way that you want to practice right off the bat. That you don't have to feel like you have to compromise on your values, compromise on your vision for your practice, or compromise at all in order to pay bills, or practice the way that you never envisioned yourself practicing, because it was a lot harder than you thought it was going to be when you got out. So our goal is to create extremely prepared, extremely excellent chiropractors, but also team leaders, business owners, entrepreneurs, individuals that are going to be savvy when they walk out, and they're not going to be hopefully just absolutely hit in the face with everything when they graduate. And so the purpose of AMP Club is very focused as far as creating excellent student leaders. Now, there is a very specific strategy that I think that you all should take in order to have the most productive school career. And you need to start treating your school career and everything you do in school like your own practice, like you're opening up a practice. Each and everything has an applicable parallel to something you do in practice, whether it be public speaking or trying to, if you're the president of a club and you're trying to lead a team. That's what I do every single week, trying to manage CAs, trying to manage now contractors, trying to coordinate people and lead people and motivate people and inspire them and get them to be on mission and be as excited about chiropractic as I am. If you think leading a club on campus, maybe I know obviously Brittany and Chase and Chris helped to lead AMPED Club, but maybe some of you guys in this room are leaders of other clubs on campus. It can be hard, can't it? It can be very frustrating, and people they don't follow through all the time, and it can be very discouraging if you aren't prepared for that. And so what we found is that with AMPED Club, if you treat your student career like your practice career, when you get out and start practicing, then you won't be surprised by these sorts of things. So as far as recruiting people to come to your different, to come to your clubs, to come to your meetings. It's going to be the same in clinic when you're trying to recruit individuals to come in and allow them to, or allow you to adjust them when they come in. Same thing in practice, only you're going to be asking them for money at that point in time, which is a very good thing. It's a very cool thing to have people value what you do so much that they give you money. Actually, just yesterday, we were having my parents over for a barbecue, and about 20 minutes before that, I got a text from a practice member, and somebody had fallen off of a horse, and it was an emergency kind of situation, and they wanted me to come out right then and there, and I did, and I sacrificed time with my family to go and do that. But the only reason I'm telling you this is because I went there, and I was there for I don't know, 15 minutes or so. I checked and adjusted them, and I have access to X-rays and everything like that. They're current people, and after we got them checked and adjusted, typically for those kinds of events, the ones that take away from my family, I let them know that there's a certain charge for that, and she, out of the goodness of her heart, just paid, or cash. She paid double, essentially, pulled it right out of her pocket and gave me a crisp $100 bill for coming out for 15 minutes. And it's one of those things where in the very beginning, you feel weird. I remember in the beginning when I would go out, I would bend over backwards for these people and do emergency visits, and I would never charge or do anything like that because I felt like I had to. I felt like I was just here to give, to love, to serve, and that's very, very important. That's at the core of everything. But when you can provide a service that people value so much that they want to pay you for it, you need to be able to accept that and manage that properly as well. So treat your time in school like it's in practice. In another way, you should be taking every experience that you have and treating it like an investment. Not necessarily some, I guess, are investments of money, but most are investments of time. And so you need to, if there are, from what I understand at Life West, there are way, way too many club options for you to explore while you're there. From what it sounds like, there's always 30 different events on the same day, and nobody can seem to decide where they want to go on any given day. And that's great to have a variety, I suppose. But guess what? When you get into practice, you're going to have a variety of different investment opportunities as well, and you need to make wise ones because at the end of the day, you only have a certain amount of time in the day, and if you start to invest your time in things that are not productive, then you're not going to be going anywhere fast. And so what I always tell people in school, you need to break it up into thirds. In the very first third, that's the time to be very superficial, to see as many clubs as you possibly can, to expose yourself to all of the variety that you have at Life West. The middle third, that's when you really need to start to focus. That's when you need to start to dive in with just a couple of organizations or a couple of clubs that align with what you want to create when you graduate. Dive deep with them, and then the last third, if you're real smart about it, you should be leading those organizations. Because here's my deal: if your goal at the end of the day is not to lead a club or lead an organization, then are you planning on leading your practice, or are you planning on just attending your practice? I think that getting a practice round in, leading a club, is the best possible way that you can eventually be prepared to lead your practice members. And so measure your time in club in those thirds and follow that progression, and you will be rewarded at the end, I promise you. Along the way, and we're going to get into actual specific AMPED here in a second, but along the way, you need to set measurable goals for yourself. I know that, so I guess it was a year and a half ago, I ran in the Columbus Marathon here in Ohio, and I know that until I actually signed on the dotted line, paid the money, everything like that, I wasn't as dedicated to my training as maybe I should have been. But once I signed up and I was like, I'm doing this thing, then all of a sudden my training got serious. And that's why I tell people all the time, there are people that they want to get involved in a bunch of different clubs, but until they actually commit to a certain club, their training in that will not be very focused. It will not be very fruitful, not very purposeful. So that's one part of it. And then the other part of it is you need to set up a way that you can actually gauge your own progress. And so you could go and you could practice a chiropractic lay lecture in the shower every single day, and at the end of school you're like, you know what, I think I'm a lot better at that, because you remember sort of what you were doing in the very beginning, and then you hear yourself and all the progress you made at the end. So basically your only gauge of progress is yourself, and you're like, yeah, I guess I'm better now because I put all those hours in. But there's no real objectivity to that. If you give a chiropractic lay lecture, if you try and explain chiropractic to your cat 30 times, you probably are a little bit better at it by the 30th time, but your cat can't tell you that, and so there's no way to actually measure that. And so when your club leaders are telling you about the certification process that we have in place now, that is amazing. It's our objective way so that we have 5 different categories that you need to be really proficient in if you're going to operate a practice and be able to see a lot of people and provide care for a lot of people without scrimping on your chiropractic care. So if you do these things and you do them well, then you should be able to test out of them. And that's the certification process. Is basically other people, other than yourself, other than your cat, saying, you know what, you used to be here, and now you're here, you're doing a lot better, so that when you exit school, there are other people, there are other measures that are in place that say, you know what, you're ready. It's not just you guessing on this thing. Chiropractic school is so funny and so weird. We spend all this time studying, we spend all this time preparing for boards, and then we fumble the ball when we get out because we didn't spend any time trying to train on the things that actually get people in our doors. And I've seen, unfortunately, a lot of my cohorts, a lot of the people that I graduated with that aren't doing chiropractic anymore, or maybe they were really, really, really good adjusters, or they were so stinking smart, they had the answer to everything. But that doesn't do you any good if there's no one in your practice to be served. And so that's the first and foremost thing that we'll be focusing on with you with the certification process. Think of it like this: train, test, teach. In the beginning, you're just going to train, and you're going to train, and you're going to train. And then along the way, at measurable benchmarks, you're going to test out of different things. And then after you test out of different things and you say, you know what, I'm really good at this thing, I've mastered it, then you teach it. And that's a step that a lot of people, that's outside their comfort zone, and they think it's unnecessary. But I'm here to tell you, if you want to see, if you want to get out into practice and you want to do everything yourself, you don't want to delegate anything, all you got to do is be really good at these things. You're going to be a really great chiropractor. You're also going to be a really great CA, and you're going to be so busy. You're not going to see a lot of people, but you're going to be super busy because you're going to be doing everything in the practice. Where you can truly reach that next level and allow you to see more people in the same amount of time is to be able to teach others to do the things that you can teach others to do. And that's pretty much everything other than adjusting. And so I'm really a huge proponent of training, testing, and then teaching once you've trained. It's almost like, it's not your responsibility, but you'll be better off for it, and helping others learn, if you can help others learn while you are bettering yourself, I don't see any better use of time as far as time investment goes at school. So the certification process, it's pretty organized as far as that goes. You can come to club. You can, as you know, AMP Club is free. It's always free. You can come to club. You'll learn about the tour. A tour of the office. I'm not exactly sure where you guys are or how many meetings you come to or anything like that. But at our practice, we always give everybody a tour of the practice, and it makes them feel comfortable. It shows them where the bathrooms are, where the X-ray room is. It shows that we see kids, that we see pregnant moms. It gives them a little dose of chiropractic history. It shows the kind of technology that we use. It helps to build value even before they have received any kind of care. So that's why we do a tour. From that point in time, we do what's called a day one education, kind of chiropractic lay lecture squished down until like 9 minutes. So we don't talk about like BJ Palmer, the BJ to CJ, as you guys may know that joke, but we don't tell them the whole chiropractic story, but we tell them about innate intelligence, vertebral subluxation, specific adjustments. We tell them about traumas, toxins, and thoughts. We tell them about how you get these subluxations, how to remove them, and getting to the root cause of their health problems. And so that's a really, really good things to be good at, because not only for your practice members, but to explain chiropractic to your family. If you can do that in a very organized way, then they're going to respect you so much more. So that's one of the ones. After that, we would do a report of findings, which is kind of the money. Most people, if you're like me anyway, I don't want to say most people, but many people had not dealt with money at all. They'd always been an employee or something like that, and never really dealt with asking people for large sums of money until I got into practice. I didn't have that experience, and a lot of people are like me. So we're going to do the report of findings so that when you get to that point, you don't make it weird, you don't make it awkward, and because when things are weird and awkward, nobody wants to give their money to someone when they get an icky feeling. They just want to be comfortable with you, and so the report of findings helps you with that. We'll dive in with phone verbiage. Believe it or not, answering the phone is not an innate skill. There are people that just are terrible at it, and they have to train really hard in order to be good at it and not sound like a dead person on the phone, to be able to smile, little tricks and things like that. But there are certain ways of rolling through what you need to know when you answer the phone at your practice. And so those are some of the things that we'll train on, that we'll certify in. Coming to club, like I said, and learning all those things, and even the test itself is completely free, and that's awesome. The next level, so once you've trained and you have tested, the last part is teach. And in order to teach, you need to have that higher level of understanding. You have to be on almost like a leadership track. You have to want to help others and want to teach others. And so once you do that, you can become you have the opportunity to join AMPED now, which is the student version of what doctors pay, like I think $800 or $900 a month for. You get all like these modules that help to explain all these things that I just explained to you. You can join that anytime, by the way, and have access to all these modules. You won't need the modules in order to pass the certification test, but gosh, it'll make it so much easier. So that's a really good thing. And plus, once you have them, you have them. You just pay your student membership fee, which is I think it's 1/10 of what the doctors pay. So that's kind of cool. I would highly recommend doing that as soon as possible, but don't feel pressured. You can do it. You can do it later in the game and still pass the test, and then join up when you've certified. And that's like your next step. So once you have certified and once you have become an AMP Now member, at that point in time you can have the opportunity, so both of those things, you have the opportunity to come to our advanced meetings. And at the advanced meetings, those are the times when where your student leaders are going to be talking about higher level things, and by that I mean like team leadership topics, team training topics, because I'll tell you, leading a team is the hardest part about owning a practice. Entrepreneurial things, landlord things, sort of like learning how to negotiate a lease, learning how to, not to get too in depth or anything like that, but just learning the verbiage so that you don't go into a professional's office who deals with property management every single day, and then you just sound like you don't know what you're talking about. So those sorts of things that are really, really smart and you want to be really keen on, those will be learned at the advanced meetings. And so once you've certified, once you are an AMP Now member, you can come to those meetings. And the way that that structure is set up is that you have the regular on-campus meeting once a week, and right now they currently have an advanced meeting once a week. Right now, anyone can come to those, but now that we are starting the certification process, as soon as you certified, you're welcome to come to those. So that's how that works. And at that point in time, after you've certified, that's the next natural step. It's like, what's next? How do I get better? How do I learn more about running my own business? That's the next step. Yeah. So I think that's just about it. There is a leadership track as well. If you want to do that last part and teach, you want to learn and be a leader of club, there is a leadership track that you can choose yourself for. Just ask Brittany and Chris. Oh gosh, ask Chris. He's gone through I've known him for a while now, and he's gone through ups and downs, and basically he's gotten beat up. He was the sole leader of this club for a while, and it's not easy. It's actually very hard. But guess what? You get your reps in school, and you get beat up in school, and you're not going to get beat up as much when you get out into practice. So I'm a huge proponent of training hard because we train hard in school. I actually was just down at Parker School of College Chiropractic down in Texas, and I was discussing this very thing. I gave a presentation on transitioning from student to doctor, and one of my pieces of advice from my own experience, I don't know if any of you guys out on the Pacific Coast have hiked the Appalachian Trail. I know you have the Pacific Crest out there, but my wife and I, after college, we hiked a section of the Appalachian Trail, and I learned a lot of things. And one of the things that I learned is that you need to make up time on the inclines and try not to make up time on the declines. If you picture your journey through school as like this huge, arduous incline, and then afterwards, when you jump into practice, it's almost like downhill. If you try and make up time on the downhill, if you fall, you're going to fall hard, and it's going to hurt, and you're going to roll, and you're going to be injured, and it's going to be bad. If you fall and you're going uphill, if you've ever tripped and fallen upstairs, it's a lot easier to fall upstairs than it is to fall downstairs, right? Because you just fall forward, it's not very hard, it doesn't hurt very much, and you stand right back up and you keep on going. And so carry heavy, train hard, and go do all this thing, do this stuff right now, really heavy, so that when you get out into practice, it's not so bad. So that's the main stuff. Brittany, from a organizational standpoint, is there anything that you would like me to speak to before we kind of just open it up straight up question and answer?
Yeah, so I have a question. Can you hear me okay? I'll get myself. Can you hear me okay, Tyler?
I'm still hearing myself.
Can you hear me? Yeah. So I think one of the big questions that most of the new AMPED members might benefit from hearing your input on would be, you know, how do you break down the material? Once you start getting the modules, what's the best strategy? Oh. Can you hear me?
Can you mute either the TV or your computer for just a moment? After you ask your question, just go ahead and mute one of them. I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay, are you there?
I am.
Okay. We can hear each other?
I can hear you.
Okay, let's try this again. So I think one of the really great questions, if you could speak on, Tyler, would be for those that have recently joined AMPED now, you know, what is the best way for these students to be able to take advantage of all the materials they're getting and really organize that in the best fashion for them to break down and digest the material, you know, while we still have full loads of classes? That's been a question that has come to me a lot lately, and so I thought we would just get your, you know, your take on, yeah, how to digest the materials, you know, where to go about first, because we have all those extra downloadable tools as well. So if you could speak on that first, and then we can round robin.
For sure, that sounds great. Sorry, I was getting your echo, Brittany, because I had two windows up from the YouTube video of it live streaming, but it was delayed and it was just awful. So I was freaking out there for a second. So anyhow, yeah. So where to start? I can see with AMP, there's just so much content that you can have that paralysis by analysis and then just not do anything. I feel like the natural way to go through it and think about it is, how do you get someone into your doors? So starting with a very simple, very easy way to get someone into your doors is screening. I say easy, it's not easy, but it's simple. So start with the screening module, which I believe is the very first one that you're given when you become an AMP Now member. And it makes it very valuable right off the bat, because it increases your value right off the bat. It allows you to go and screen for doctors and basically get all the hard ones out on that doctor's dime, if you will. It's a bad way to think about it, but essentially, if you mess up when you're out trying to get practice members for another doctor, they're not, they're not going to your practice. You're not messing up on your own, and so it's good to get those reps in again when you're doing that. So screening is where I would start. After that, look at the day one education, or the phone. And so once you look at the phone module, you're like, well, I don't have an office yet. Why do I need to learn how to do the phone? Because the phone is going to take so long for you to master. You're going to want to be really, really good at it so that you can train others to do it immediately. You just don't want to be answering your own phone in practice. You need to be able to train people on that immediately, and so you need to be really good at it. So I'd say screening, then I would say phone or day one, and then I would say your what's called like a doctor's report or like a chiropractic lay lecture, where you explain in like 20, 30, 40 minutes, depending on your style, basically everything about chiropractic as it looks like in your office, and how to educate someone once they've come from the streets into your office, and you are essentially building the value and telling them what they're going to be getting with you before the adjustment. So I think that's probably good for now, those three things, and then once you get into those, you'll have a better feel for what needs to come next.
Awesome. Great. So let me open it up to anyone in here. Should we do start? Do you have a question? I'll introduce it to you. So I don't know if you can hear. And quarter three, right? Yeah. Cool. Okay, Tyler, we're going to start in the back. This is Pooja. She is a third quarter, and she's been coming to club for quite a while now. I thought it's... We've seen her a few times at club, so she's getting plugged in, and so she's going to start us off with questions.
Okay. So what was, what struggles did you face when you were like trying to transition from your dad's practice into like, your own kind of? Can you just like go into that a little bit?
For sure, we can talk about that. So, Pooja, do you ask that because you're planning on going into practice with a family member?
No, but like if there was an opportunity to take over someone else's practice, or like work as an associate, for instance, or like partnership or something like that.
Right. Pooja, if you were to go into another practice, and if you had a hope and prayer to be able to bring some of the stuff that you're learning here at AMPED into that practice, that person would need to be basically willing to turn everything on its head. That's what my dad had to do, and he was super humble about it. And what that has earned him is essentially in 4 years' time, doubling the volume, doubling the practice, well, almost tripling the volume and tripling the collections of the practice that he had before. But he had to be willing to go through a period of and like growing pains and awkwardness, because he was in a place where people were coming in and paying for each adjustment each and every time, and transitioning that to a mode of like care plans where you recommend a plan for people, sort of like going to a personal trainer. You could go to a personal trainer and you might pay per time and just go when you want to, or you employ that personal trainer to get you well, to get you fit, and they recommend a period of time and a certain number of workouts per week and things like that. That's the difference between a per visit chiropractor and a care plan chiropractor. One is trying to get you well, one is just trying to get you through that adjustment. And so he was the former before, and we were transitioning to the latter. And so a lot of his old practice members that have been with him for years and years with this model had a hard time with that. A lot of them really, really had a hard time with it. A lot of them really had a great time with it. They really dig the new way, and it always made sense to do it this way more than the way it was before. So I guess to speak to your question, if you wanted to associate with another doctor, which is essentially what I do, even though I have an owner mentality, I'm an associate. You have to be very valuable. Pooja, I was very valuable, and that's what made my bargaining chips very good. I could say, Dad, you know what? I know I'm not the owner, but we need to change this and this and this. We need to start doing a chiropractic lay lecture, in a group setting. He's like, I tried that 20 years ago, and nobody came. And I was like, well, we're going to do it now, and everybody's going to come. And that's exactly how it happens. We don't. It's not what he thought. And so, Pooja, if you want to be an associate, you have to be very, very valuable. You have to train harder than anyone else because you're not going to be, owning the place. And so you need to, if you're going to be an associate and make the money that you deserve and be able to see the people the way that you want to see them, you have to be better trained than everyone else in this room, because essentially you need to prove yourself daily. I prove myself daily, but I prove myself to myself. It's not like I have like a boss or something like that I have to prove every day. So if you do that, that's what I would recommend, is just training harder than everyone else in the room and being the best at all the procedures. And then if you can take on leadership roles too, if you do certify and you want to lead club and you take on leadership roles in club and then you have that leadership experience, that's going to serve you so well in practice, getting you what you want out of an associateship. I think that's a great way to go about it.
Thank you.
For sure.
You guys can introduce yourself if you want. I don't know why I felt like that.
Also, can you see me?
Yes, I can.
Hey, what's up, Doc? I just want to say that I appreciate you spending your time here with us. I got a lot of questions. So my name is Eric. I'm 14th quarter. So I'm a late starter into the AMPED program. I signed up maybe a little over 2 months ago, but I'm really excited about it. I've had a good experience so far, so I'm super pumped. My question to you is this: what are some red flags when getting into the graduation time where it might be a better idea to associate before going straight into opening your own practice? And I'm trying to keep my options open. I'm drawn towards opening a practice. However, I want to make sure that I'm prepared to go through that transition. So what are some red flags that would kind of indicate, like, okay, maybe it's time to do an associateship in this case?
That's a great question. I don't mean to be rhetorical about it, because I used to hate when I'd ask questions and people would just answer me with really, like, it's not the answer you're looking for, and so I promise you I'm not doing that. But I think that if you have to ask yourself that question, I think that might be a red flag to me, because if you're going to open up and if you're going to do this in your 14th quarter, like, you have to be absolutely sure. And I mean, at this point in time, I remember, like, I wasn't even opening up, but I had, our business plan. I had my grand opening plan. I had like the nonprofit that we were partnering with, that I had that planned out and that relationship built, and we had a lot of plans in place at that point in time. And so with the new practice right now, it's taken so much work, so many hours to be able to prep for that. And it's just a lot of entrepreneurs. We're weird, we choose to work 80 hours a week so that we don't have to work 40 for somebody else. It's a different mentality totally. So hopefully you're not, like, turned off by my answer, but I think that if
No, I can answer my question, because I'm like really set on actually opening a practice.
Good.
And it's kind of like, I'm wondering, like, am I too enthusiastic, too excited to go down this path? Is there something I'm missing kind of along the way? But I have a feeling there's always so much stuff that you just don't know until you get to that place. So I'm trying to just soak it all in, and learn as much as I can. So thank you.
What? Yeah, you bet, Eric. You know what I know? I know that you are definitely missing a lot. I think that we're all missing a lot. I don't know if there's something I'm missing. I guarantee you there are like 30 things that you're missing. But guess what? You're just going to figure it out on the way. You're going to figure it out on the fly. And I think that's probably the biggest benefit to AMPS. Because, I mean, for people like me, think about it. Like, people like me, people that are established, that are out in practice, that have a really good thing going, like, why do I stay in AMPS? What's my purpose? A new module comes out, great, and we do all this stuff. That's awesome. The reason that I'm in AMP, the reason that I have so much value in it now, is because when there is stuff that comes up that I missed, that I didn't see, that I have a community, that I have a family, that I have people that I can lean on, that I don't get taken out from the herd and go out, on my lonesome. At this point in time, like, that's the biggest thing for me. And you go through different seasons. Like, right when you get out, like, you joined 2 months ago, great. Like, at this point in time, you just need to be in the modules. In the very beginning, when I was a student in the very beginning of practice, I was, essentially in the modules. I was learning those things. I was in the procedures. I'm in a different place now, where I'm here for the community aspect of it and pushing chiropractic forward and critical mass in that way. But yeah, you're gonna miss a lot of stuff, and you don't need to be worried about it. You just need to be aware of it and be ready to react and have a plan in place for when those things that you miss happen, and so you can just keep moving forward.
Cool. Thank you.
You bet.
Can I ask another question? Or right there? You want to? Yeah. Okay.
We'll go around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Robinson.
Hey, Dr. Tyler.
Hey there.
Hey, I'm Travis.
Hey,
So oh yeah, I've been coming for it's my second quarter. I'm in it now, so yeah, I'm just getting going. My question to you, I know that you spoke a little bit about goal setting, and you kind of mentioned how to measure your goals and how this was an achievable way to measure that. I was wondering if there's any other ways that we can kind of measure our success for like communication in business. Like I've had a goal this year to understand business a little bit better, and I don't really have a way to measure that. I just kind of have things that I can do to help that, but I'm wondering if there's any kind of ways that we can actually measure that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's great. So what you need to do, and I think your head is in the right spot. I think right now, as far as the scope of everything that you need to pay attention to, being in second quarter, you need to focus on the. I'm sorry, what?
I'm in second quarter in AMPED, sixth quarter overall.
Oh, okay, gotcha. My bad. I misunderstood.
Yep. Sorry, I said it wrong.
So okay. So you're halfway through, a little over halfway through. So okay, I guess that does change it a little bit. So you need to kind of fast forward, and you need to your second quarter in AMPED. You need to be sixth quarter in AMPED. Essentially, you need to be at that knowledge level, so that when you get to 14th quarter, you are 14th quarter in AMPED and you're ready to go. But luckily, you can go fast. So what you need to do is you need to go through all the internal procedures first, and once you've gone through all the internal procedures, at that point in time, the advanced meetings that we have, those will be the place where you can truly dive deeper with the business stuff and offer ways of measuring that knowledge base. So the advanced meetings, those will offer you opportunity to have more access to me and to the AMP leadership and answer questions that you may have, and with the power partners that we have to be able to pick their brains as well. That's stuff that needs to happen. It definitely needs to happen before you graduate, but it should probably happen like 9th, 10th, 11th quarter. If you start focusing on it too early, the problem is that you get distracted and you get obsessed with that stuff. And I've seen it happen. We talk about it in the leadership, is because there's so many things you need to know, and you start to get focused on that, and then you open up. You have a perfectly running business. Your numbers are all in account, and everything looks great. You've hired somebody successfully. You got a great team member, and then you forget that driving people into the practice is the motor that does everything, and there's no people to pay to pay your staff, and all of a sudden. So make sure to keep the main thing as far as that goes, and focus on the procedures. Drive people to your practice first. Focus on the measurable goals, the objective measures for communication. And then once you do that, then the advanced meetings, they will fill in the gaps as far as understanding not just business, but specifically chiropractic business, and knowing the ins and outs of that as well. Understanding like the insurance side of it and all that kind of stuff, that's just going to happen. You're just going to learn that on the field. That's just gonna be something that you learn when you're out. We all learn it that way. There's just no way to really what's the word I'm looking for, to kind of predict what insurance is going to look like when you get out, and so learning that kind of stuff now is worthless. So hopefully that helps.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, my name's Alicia. I guess my biggest question, I don't know if I plan on going in with my dad or not. He's a chiropractor as well. He seems pretty flexible as far as the business aspect, but do you have any big takeaways in general as far as deciding to go into practice with a family member? My sister just started working there too, so be like my sister, possibly my brother, I'm not sure. Like, do you have any, I don't know, big bits of advice as far as family versus, I don't know, a general business partner?
Yeah, for sure. If you're going to work with your family, you really, really, really need to have an ironclad contract in place. You need to foresee problems before they happen. Like, my dad and I have an amazing relationship, but we have an agreement in place. If I were to skip town and take everything, there's something in place to be able to protect him. If I were to die in a car accident, he'd be able to buy my portion out. If we were both to die in a car accident, our wives, my mom and my wife Kelsey, would be able to buy each other out of the business and be able to be financially stable. Creating really, really strong contracts when you're in a familial agreement protects your relationship. It puts the weight of the business on the contract and not on your family and not on your family relationship. So if you're going to go in and do that, that's what I recommend. I love working with family. I think it's great. I don't have to, I trust them, I can't imagine working a place and not trusting someone, so fully. That would be, you have to really work hard to find that today, I feel. And if you go in with family, I mean, my family anyway, you kind of have that right off the bat. And so I recommend it, but whatever is your personal preference if you have a choice. But if you're going to do family, make sure you got a solid contract.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Dr. Tyler, the little one, has a question.
I've been watching her.
All right, my name's Daniel.
Hey, Daniel.
All right, so this is more in regards to like possible people you've worked with in regards to, because you knew where you're going immediately. I'm looking at opening up further away, but I don't really have the means to go frequently. How do you begin to kind of set up stuff, kind of look and do all that stuff in order to kind of set up and get started from afar?
For whatever reason, I think I missed the question in there. Could you just repeat it one more time?
Okay. So in regards to kind of getting started with practice, sorry. Yes. So in regards to getting the practice started and getting set up, so just speaking in regards to some other people that you've worked with or through AMPED, not everyone's been able to kind of go right to the site. And so I'm just trying to think how. I'm probably losing the question.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think what he was saying was how does he plan ahead of time for if he's opening up a FAR? How to do that planning when you're going to be a distance away when you're opening up.
Gotcha. So I think when you are just a couple months out, so maybe if you're like 10th, 11th quarter or something like that, I would, depending, maybe you know, maybe you don't know, so just go visit a couple different places where you think you may want to live, check out the towns, check out the spaces that are available. Don't fall in love with any of them because, if you're a couple months from graduating or a year from graduating, they'll probably all be, different locations by the next time you come in. And if they're still vacant by the time you come back, then maybe you don't want to be there. So go and check out, make sure it's a place you want to live. If it's a place you want to live, you can open up a practice anywhere. There are people in AMP that live in cities. I live in a town of 5,200. So it's a very small environment here, rural, farm-based. So the things that you need to know are just going there, um, talking to some business owners, like going into coffee shops, being like, hey, um, what do you mind if I ask you some questions? I'm looking to open up a business here potentially, and just trying to get some comps as far as, square footage, what am I going to be paying? And so just get those questions. We do have power partners in AMP that do all that negotiating for you. And that's one of the things that I've heard has been like, he's like a rock star. He negotiates like these crazy leases for people. So hooking up with them would be really smart. Probably right around 8th or 9th quarter to start that process, especially if you're a FAR. That'll be really important because you're not going to be able to go there and negotiate all the time, so you want somebody to be able to do that for you. What else do you need to be doing?
Do you get that information through the Jumpstart program? Or
Yes, the Jumpstart program. Yeah, so that's important whether you're practicing. I was trying to answer your question like if you're practicing a FAR specifically, but yeah, no, I mean if you guys know what the Jumpstart program is, then that goes without saying. That's absolutely necessary. That's the single most valuable thing in chiropractic today. I know it's a big statement, but it is the most valuable thing in chiropractic. With the number of practices that we've launched that have come through that are doing wildly successful, the cost versus the benefit of it is astronomical. I've said multiple times that we need to really rethink the pricing of the Jumpstart program, but at the heart of the organization, they want to keep it extremely affordable for students, and so that's why they do that. It's just such a high value. When people are getting out and collecting, $24,000 and $30,000 and $50,000 in their first month, and they paid for their Jumpstart program. I mean, they pay for their Jumpstart program like 20 times over, sometimes by their first 6 months, and that's really it's essential. So you got to do that. It goes without saying for
sure. So those people you mentioned, like that to work with in regards to setting things up, where would I meet them or get hooked up with their names or whatever? I'm part of like the AMPED, but I'm not part of the Jumpstart.
Okay. No, it's all good. Their information is on the ampnow.com, ampnow.com under I think Power Partners or Power Affiliates or something like that. AMP Affiliates. You can find all that information on there, and they are. I think the guy who does our leasing is booked out until like 2018 right now with all the AMP people. So yeah, he'll work with you and everything like that. He does a really great job. But all that information's right on our website.
Cool.
What's up, man? So, my next question, can you talk a little bit about pros and cons with the different electronic filing systems, like between Platinum, ChiroTouch? I think there was another one like Vitalogic or something like that. Pros and cons. I know a little bit about Platinum. I know you can own the stuff, which is cool. I really like that. But in your experience, I guess starting off, what do you use, and then why? I guess.
Yeah, I use Platinum, and I didn't use Platinum for the first 3 years, and it was maddening. I used one that I'm not even going to tell you because you're not going to use it. I'm not going to let you use it. It was so bad, and so, but it was so bad. It wasn't one of the ones that you mentioned. I've heard good things. I can't, to answer your question, I can't speak to those other ones because I've never used them. But I've heard good things from colleagues about ChiroTouch and about Vitalogics. There's a couple other ones, some cloud-based ones that people use that they seem to like. But I love Platinum. It's very simple. It's very fast. It's Excel-based, so it's very data-driven. If you're into stats and monitoring data and finding out where people come from and being able to make lists and run queries of certain data points, like say you're like, these people are missing for whatever reason. I want to list of all the people that missed on this particular day, and I want to pull a list of them and I want to call them. Like you can do that in Platinum very easily. It's just Excel. It's just a sexier version of Excel. It's not that much sexier. It's pretty ugly actually the way it looks, but that's why it runs so well and so quickly, and it works really well. So I love Platinum. Can't say enough good things about it. The customer service is really good. The sales reps are really good. If you ever have a problem, they plug right into the software and they fix it really quickly. I have not a bad thing to say about Platinum, and you can own it. We own it. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm leaning towards Platinum as well.
Cool.
I just haven't used it. Some people are saying just spend a month on it. Just learned in the system. They say it's pretty. I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll see.
that would be helpful. So I switched over to Platinum last July, and I never used it or did anything before that. I used it sort of when I worked at my peak process, or like my internship process, but that was 4 years ago. And so I mean, might as well have not used it at all. But I got pretty good at it within 2 weeks. I was slower at it in the beginning. Now I'm really good with it. But it's super quick. I don't even think you need to dedicate a month. If you do, great. But if you're dealing with not enough time for all the tasks you have to do in a day, don't dedicate your time to that.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. Next one. Have you tried Genesis?
So I've not, and that's not the bad one that I use. But I'll tell you, that's the other one that I've heard really good things about. It's like the opposite of Platinum in the sense where it is super sexy, and it's very. I mean, it looks new. It looks awesome. I know a lot of people really like it in AMPED.
Cool. Yeah. So we'll go around. Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, you bet, Eric.
All right. So the next one in regards to like how much should we have saved up, so that upon graduation we can the banks will listen to us and take us seriously, so to speak. Did you hear that?
So say that one more time. I'm sorry.
How much startup capital should we have saved up personally when we go start talking to the banks trying to get a loan?
Gotcha. That is a great question, and that can vary greatly depending on your situation. I know there's a lot of people that have money in the bank, money in their family. I didn't have any of that. None of my friends had any of that. What they did is they just saved. They took max loans out and they saved it throughout that process. And I think you can do it. A lot of them they opened on like 30. They opened on 40. Yeah, I think at the time when we all opened up, like 50 was spending a lot. And so if you can save up that much, if you can get I think there's an FHA loan that you can get up to like 15,000 or something like that, in addition to whatever you pay. If you can hit that 40,000 mark or something like that, that'd be a pretty good number. Don't quote me on that because, like I said, that can change. And if you can get more, That's awesome. And if you can't get that amount, you'll be okay. You'll just open up on a shoestring and you'll get there. I'm a huge proponent of opening humble because some of you, no, none of you have been to my practice yet. It's not the most beautiful, glorious practice. We see a lot of people, and our overhead is next to nothing. But we're building our dream practice, and it took my dad 30 years to do that. And we in a very short period of time, since I joined up with them, we were able to get to that point. And so I think you can start very humble, and you can get very, very quickly. You can be able to build your dream practice later. Some people are opening up, building their dream practices, and that's fine too. But that's just not my strategy. My strategy is open, humble, and then grow as your practice grows. But I gave you those numbers earlier. Take those for what they're worth. Probably by the time you graduate, who knows? Inflation, whatever cost of things will change, and you may need a little bit more or something like that. But I do think that 30, 40, 50, you can stretch that and open humbly on those kinds of numbers.
So Tyler, we're gonna do maybe. Do you have time for like 3 more questions?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
All right. Hey, Tyler.
Hey, Jay.
I wanted to have you talk a little bit about how you went through school and then going into opening the practice or changing it with your dad. How did you practice things such as the office tour, day one education with your clients or your patients in school, or besides just AMP training sessions, how did you go through all those procedures so that you were locked in for when you started your actual practice?
Okay. So within the actual structure of school, when we were in student clinic, we weren't required to do any of that stuff, but we did. We gave people tours. We gave day ones to all of our student patients. We would when I got into outpatient clinic, we had the opportunity to be able to deliver like a report of findings or a lay lecture to a group, and so there were a group of us that kind of rotated and did those as well. So I would highly recommend doing that. We would screen. Before I graduated, I probably did 500 screenings for Dr. Hess and a variety of other doctors where we would go around, but probably 500 screenings, and so that was really important to kind of do that in order to practice. In my internship, I had the opportunity to do day one educations with Dr. Hess and their office to real people, to give tours, to do all that kind of stuff. That stuff's really good, and getting those reps in is really important, and I think you have to find those opportunities and make those opportunities, because typically school isn't going to make you do them. So I think you kind of have to make yourself do them, and I think that's probably where club is the niche. You really need to train hard at club, train like it's real, because you're going to have to make those opportunities at school in order to do that. And so I think there was a back half of that question, like something about when I got into practice, Chase?
Just how you practiced so much training in those different situations so that you were you knew exactly what you were going to do when you opened up.
Yeah, cool. I got that, Chase. Yeah, so we trained so hard that because we wanted to be able to get out and open up. Although I wasn't opening up from scratch, it was worse. I was opening up in the middle of a practice that was already running, and that trust me, that's way worse. I'd rather open up fresh any day, because I had a group of people that, worse than not knowing anything, they think they know everything already, including your staff, including all the practice members, and that's super difficult to have pushback at every moment. So I had to be really sharp and just really sure, really confident, and had to be able to provide every single answer like on point with everything. And so yeah, training like it's real in club is the biggest thing. And then just getting together with like little, we just called them accountability groups. They don't have to be formal, but they can just be like minimum of 2, maximum of 4 people that you just really resonate with in club and get together with outside of club to kind of run through some stuff. Find a nice. You guys live in California. I'm sure you got a beach. You can just go down to the beach and just go through stuff and enjoy the day, but like train on stuff and really enjoy just learning and growing with each other and really holding each other accountable with that. Like being hard on each other now, because people are going to really, really beat you up when you get out. But yeah, that's a good question, Chase.
All right, so I got a question. Sorry for that awkward crawl. I just realized how weird that was. I got a question.
It was like that movie, The Ring. Remember that?
Yeah. That's all I was thinking. That's all I was going for. So, my question is, as far as the timeline goes for graduating, when did you have capital? Well, I guess you didn't really start a practice, right, from scratch, but for a graduating student, or what have you seen in the past where these guys had their bank loans signed off before, like, was it before they were graduating on the timeline? Like, how did that all work into it?
None of them had bank loans signed off before they graduated. Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff that you need to have, like, you need to have a lot of numbers and a lot of like addresses and a lot of things in place before you can actually go to the bank.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of if-thens, like if you have this, then you can go to the bank, like, but there's a lot of ifs. So you basically have to have your location all set out, your business plan, like all of your expenses itemized and labeled and everything like that. You know, you got to have a personal financial statements. You know, you have to have all of your debts and everything like that lined up for them so they can analyze that. So there's a lot of ifs, but once you have all those ifs, you can go to the bank.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Did you do a grand opening with your dad?
I did, even though it wasn't an opening of the practice. It was an opening of my portion of the practice. That's the way we spun it. And so, yeah, we had a fire truck. We had the local high school mascot. We had ice cream, pizza, face painting. All of that was donated. I partnered with a nonprofit, and I did a silent auction for them. And I went around and I met, when I was doing business to business, I also hit up those businesses if they wanted to do a basket for our silent auction, and so they did that. Those are all donated, and we raffled those off and ended up raising like something, you know, like over $500 or something for this charity. The charity was there; all their people were there that they shared with on social media and everything. So that was a pretty good way of doing it. We gave tours to everybody that came through. Everybody was offered, assessments in the practice and certain discounts and things like that. So yeah, we did. To answer the question, we did. It went really well. I would recommend doing that whether you're opening up or whether you're not.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
My follow-up was as far as the timeline's concerned. What are like the big key points that you got to be hitting in this particular order? Because I'm just trying to put that timeline together and try to like fill in the spaces. I know there's obviously like a lease, you got to get the business loan, you got to talk to the architect, and then you got to get all the building permits and negotiate with the GC, and there's all those little steps in place. But it's like as far as like just so I can get that big like 30,000 foot view, can you kind of lay it out in just like little key points? That would be helpful, and I'm gonna go write it down.
That's best. I mean, I could answer it, but that's best laid out in the Jumpstart program. That's like the best detailed example of that. It just lays it out. It gives you context. I would do it a disservice if I tried to summarize it for you. But yeah, I mean, you get out, you find a location, you get your lease, or you build a building, I guess, if you're talking to the architect. You get your lease, you get your permits, yeah, I mean, I'm going through all this right now, and it's a lot, and so you don't want to go through it. I'm doing the Jumpstart program. I mean, I'm going through the Jumpstart program right now, and it's super helpful, just to kind of guide you through it. So that's probably my best advice for you, actually.
Thank you.
Okay, Tyler, I have one more question for you, unless anyone else, you guys have any other follow-ups? Okay, so our last question for you. I wanted to know a little bit about hiring a CA. So what are the best, I know some docs I've heard go to local coffee shops when they move to wherever they're opening. They'll go to local restaurants, and they'll kind of, not to be creepy, but they'll be kind of watching these employees throughout their shift and noticing like which ones are doing an exemplary job, possibly leaving their business card with them, offering them an opportunity to come and interview when they open their office. What are some, other than churches or coffee shop, local restaurants, so to speak, that I can be keeping my eye out for places that I can pull to look for new hires? Look for suitable CAs.
Yeah. So you need to look at Indeed.com. We've had some, that's INDEED. We've had some really good success actually with that. Out of all the different, staffing sites and things like that, that's probably where we found the most success. But the other things that you said are very good. I got one of my CAs from Kroger. She was just amazing, at customer service and had an awesome smile. And I asked her if she wanted to be interviewed, and we changed her life. She went from she has like 3 kids and a husband. They were living in a trailer, and she was the breadwinner of the family, and she was making like $7.50 an hour at Kroger cutting vegetables, and now she makes double that, and it's like totally changed her life. And so you can find people anywhere, but you have the right attitude. Is just have your head in a swivel, be around, looking around, and for just good people that give you good service, because those are the kind of people that are going to give good service no matter what. So hire character, train the talent, train the procedures, hire character. As long as they are trainable, as long as they are good people, as long as they are just friendly and they're people, and they're mission minded, then they'll do great in your practice.
Cool. And can you give us the timeline of how far in advance that is a good timeline to hire, to get them up on trained on office tour day one, screening, all of that prior to like grand opening?
Yeah. There are some people that are opening up with CAs already now. We never did it that way. We always opened up, and then when we grew to that point, but now people are growing so fast. So it's really good. It's a good problem to have. I believe that you can train a CA fully, like 100%, everything they need to know in 30 days. That's the way we did it with our last one, and it's been amazing. There have been like 0 gaps. On the essentials, the bare bones, I think you can get them in, and you can get them trained on the majority of that stuff in 1 week. You can train them how to answer the phone. You can train them on the bare bones of Platinum or whatever you decide to use. You can train them on, whatever, those sorts of things right in about a week. So I think probably the lead time, you would need to, let them know that, hey, we're going to be opening up soon. We're going to need some help, maybe a month out, and then they may need to give 2 weeks at their current job. So maybe talk to them a month before you open, and let them know that you would love to have them come in, and you can start training maybe a week before. I think a week to 2 weeks before, if you can afford it, great. Before you open up, that way they can hit the ground running, and then they can learn the rest on the run.
Okay. All right. Well, if that concludes everything, Chris, did you have any questions? I realized I didn't even turn it over to you. So, do you have any questions? No?
I don't have questions, but a lot of stuff that you guys were asking is stuff that I'm going through now, or have worked with. So, feel free to use me as a resource still on campus and ask me questions. Daniel, I sent you a message on Facebook. So catch up with me sometime this week and we'll chat. But I love that we've got some turnout and great questions happening.
Awesome. Yeah, I love the way club's going. Great job, you guys. Thanks for coming out tonight. And then definitely just dive deep right now. Depending on where you are in school, just break it down into thirds. If you're in the section where you need to be going deep, like make sure you recognize that and just start feeding into that. Stop feeding into the lie of Life West that you need to do everything all the time. There's too many clubs there. They need to stop that, and they need to just do a couple of really good ones, because I think it's to your detriment, honestly. So thanks for doing this, you guys.
Yeah, we appreciate you being on the call and taking the time to share all of your knowledge and your passion with us. So we hope to see you soon at St. Louis.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll be there. I'll see you guys soon. Okay.
Cool. All right. Take care, Kyle.
Yep. You betcha. Bye bye.